The second big mountain stage of the week. Could Remco Evenepoel resurrect himself? And some very strange tactics from UAE team Emirates. Starting in France, where they finished yesterday at Sauveterre de Berne, going back over the border into Spain, finishing on the Lara Belagua climb. Two more difficult climbs before that finish though. First up the Col Vos, 11 Ks, 8%, followed by the Puerto de la Rao, which has about a 10K, 9% section in it. Great weather conditions, not too hot, bright and sunny. And what would Evenepoel try and do? Get in the breakaway? He's 27 minutes back. Would Ayuso try and unseat one of the Jumbos? And Evenepoel, with this 45-kilometer flat start, it was very difficult for the breakaway to form. There were no hills, and difficult for the climbers. Evenepoel obviously is great on the flat. He's so aerodynamic, and he gets in an initial move with Oliveira, who's also a truck. So if you're not like Remco, if you're like Storer, or if you're like Van Eerdvold or Caruso, you need a teammate, like you can see here with, I think, Jascha Soetterlin, to try and launch you on the flat to get into the breakaway. Otherwise, if you're a skinny climber, you'll burn yourself up even just making the break. But Remco was super active, trying to make it form over and over. Eventually, a split does go, with Clement Devy supporting Storer, with Dainese supporting Bardet. UAE missed it. They wanted to be in the break. They start chasing with either Oliveira or Milano furiously. Remco's made it, and you are not bringing a break like this back with one rider, with a minute advantage up the road. It's not going to happen. Look at like Costa, Oliveira, so many multiple teams with multiple teammates like Bahrain, Groupama FDJ, and so this is a pretty full-on chase effort for Milano. He pulls up stumps. We're about 5Ks from the climb, so again, they stopped trying to keep the gap stable, UAE, with Milano stopping just before the Col Auxerre. You know, that's coming up here. It was 1:15, and then UAE riders try to start bridging here on the flat before the climb. Rui Oliveira is trying to bridge with Catania. Now, Catania's been Quickstep's best climbing domestique. It makes sense for him to go across. He can get to that break and bridge it on the climb, and he went on the back, or he and Oliveira went together. But Oliveira is not going to bridge 1 minute on a climb, so he's cooking himself, basically, in this counter move. And then Finn Fisher-Black jumps. I don't know if it was with Quinn chasing him from EF. It gets blocked up eventually, but he's also their best climbing domestique, UAE, because Almeida's not going to ride for Ayuso nor Soler. They'll defend their own GC position. And so now, just before the climb on the flat, their best climbing domestique is jumping. Makes absolutely no sense, even though like Remco was not getting a lot of cooperation, because the other riders like Kemna pretty quickly realized he was on absolute fire today. They get onto the Col Auxerre, and yeah, Remco's just mashing his teammate. Catania's bridging from behind. And if they link up, they need to link up so that Catania can set a pace. Jumbo just chilling. They didn't seem too bothered because Catania is now smashing, and he needed to, because back in the peloton, Domen Novak started moving for UAE Team Emirates with 97.3 Ks to go. He starts dropping riders, but can he alone put Kuss and Co under pressure? Catania, he keeps it at 3:15, but yeah, Novak put a lot of time into that breakaway. He's clearly moving, but where are they going to go? 93 Ks to go. He's the last climbing domestique here. Finn Fisher-Black's in a Chasse Patat up the road. Like, Novak is not himself going to be able to put Kuss or the Jumbo riders under threshold. Soler or Almeida would need to pull if Ayuso wanted to do something, and they would need a satellite rider up the road. Neither of those two conditions were going to happen today. And you can see Almeida's actually at the back of the group, having probably a better day today. It wasn't as probably hard as stage 13, but he's going to defend his own 10th GC position. I think UAE want the points, so that's just one climbing domestique less for Ayuso to set something up. But over the top of the Col Auxerre, Remco sprints for the KOM points. Bardet goes with him, and they decide to go on with it, or Remco does at least, pushing this descent really, really hard, sprinting out of each corner. Bardet said it was almost just as hard following him on the descent as downhill, and this group behind quickly loses a minute to this group, with Catania sitting on, with no one else having multiple teammates in that chase group to pull. UAE get Oliveira and Finn Fisher-Black together, so they didn't make it really across to that breakaway. Oliveira at least pulls the end of the descent, and I think the run into the Puerto de la Real, which, as you can see, is a very difficult climb, undulating, some steep sections. Remco's got a minute head start, and Novak goes back to work for UAE, and then Soler's on the radio. I don't know what he was saying. Maybe he said it felt bad. Ayuso clearly hears it because he turns around and looks directly at Soler and is probably wondering what's going on, or maybe he wanted Soler to pace. I don't know, because Novak's already done the first climb. He's not going to put Kuss on threshold. So Stora goes after Remco Evenepoel up the road, who was clearly having a much better day than the day before. He puts 20 seconds into him, but it doesn't really go down much further, with Bardet helping Evenepoel. Fisher-Black starting to pace behind for UAE, but the group is still quite big, except Almeida and Soler start to drop behind. And so with no satellite rider ahead, with the other two GC leaders and best climbers for UAE starting to drop, it didn't look like there was much anywhere for Ayuso to go, because we got like a 40-kilometer valley after the end of this climb in 6-7 kilometers, and they were actually losing time to Remco Evenepoel, or he was holding it stable up the road, and he's been solo for about an hour at this point. Ayuso duly gives it a dig anyway in the white jersey, which he's definitely going to win. Looks back and sees probably the last thing he wants to see, which is 3 Jumbo in his wheel, no Almeida, no Soler, and a whole host of other GC contenders too. It's not like it was just him and a couple of Jumbo guys. Ayuso does give it another dig, and maybe Kuss, is he just following Mas because he can, or was he under pressure? I think probably just making Mas close the gap. Ayuso sees he doesn't get any separation. That's it for the GC group. Forget about it today. They all roll in together later. Remco, though, I mean, what a turnaround from the day before. Goes over the Puerto de la Real first. Stora's done. He would be absorbed by Castro and Van Eetveld chasing behind. And Remco, despite Vuelta pacing easy, 8:30 behind, he just taps out this heavy rhythm amongst the big crowds on the final Balagua climb. And that's really what does for Bardet, this metronomical heavy pace, with Evenepoel giving him no draft on the flat, and with 4Ks to go, Bardet starts swinging, gets in the drops, and his legs go night-night. Here with Remco Evenepoel riding away from him without realising the camera cut away but when the separation started. And so Evenepoel lost 27 minutes yesterday, but on world-beating form today, telling the radio with a K to go, talking to the team, a solo for pretty much 100 kilometers, wins the stage, his second in this Vuelta, as well as taking the KOM jersey for now. Hugely emotional win for him, bounce-back victory. GC group rolls over together, no changes in, I think, the top 9 or 10. No problems for Jumbo-Visma. Here's the stage results. Evenepoel wins 1:12 ahead of Bardet, Van Eetveld third, Castro fourth, Stora, then De La Cruz in the GC group all together. We've got a medium mountain transition stage tomorrow. Jumbo still 1, 2, 3 with their gap unchanged to Ayuso, Mas, Soler, Landa, the 4 Spaniards. Will they unite? Probably not tomorrow. Maybe on the Angleroo we'll see on stage 17. Till that recap, ciao.